My name is Gihan Hyde, and I specialize in employee advocacy and change communications, specifically when it comes to cultural and digital change. I've realized that culture is the beautiful, unique identity of an organization that is extremely complex, and it could not be replicated from one organization to the other. Understand how employees speak about you as a company internally and externally, and understand what shareholders and external audiences think of you as a brand. And to me, that was amazing. When I joined a FTSE 100 company, and this company wanted to change the mindset of its employees, to make them understand that to protect the company from any compliance-related scandals or ethics-related scandals, it's the role of each and every employee and not just a certain department within this organization. In other words, everyone needs to protect the house. But how do you do that though? So what does it mean to protect the organization from a scandal or from any wrongdoings? So for me to achieve that, I needed to embed the key messages and the behaviors associated with this new mindset in each and every touch point within the employee experience and journey, starting from onboarding and ending with offboarding. So to give you an example, if you are now being interviewed by this company, one of your interview's questions will be around compliance. And then if you get successful and join the company, one of the activities that you'll be doing on your onboarding sessions with the group is a group activity around compliance and protecting the company. And if you are about to do your annual appraisal reviews, one of the objectives that you'll need to meet is to demonstrate how did you protect the company. So as you can see, we made a point that it's within every touch point. One of the ways I measure my campaigns in general is through employee advocacy, which is very close to my heart. I do that by understanding what employees are saying about the company externally, how are they saying it, and in which channels they're saying it, and also understanding how did the employees apply the behaviors within the company and using the internal social medias. The reason it will be shifting, whether we like it or not, is because at this moment of time, organizations, small or large, are going through three different crises. Number one is the pandemic, which is a health-related crisis. Number two is the economical crisis. And number three is the racial crisis or racial injustice crisis. So a company, for them to survive, they need to understand how do they need to operate differently to cope with these three crises. Dropbox, the company, decided that they will be extending their working from home scheme until June 2021. Netflix, because they've understood the importance of well-being and the importance of working from home, they've extended their paid leave to 52 weeks. This will mean that employees will no longer be responsible for a task, but rather they'll be accountable for tasks. And this will give them empowerment to really think outside of the box. So I see it as a positive. And the way I explain it, responsibility will be replaced with accountability. And in that sense, the team dynamics will change. And all of this is facilitated by the digital tools that the companies are currently adapting internally. I read this book that really influenced the way I work and I support the change of a culture within an organization. The book is by S. Chris Edwards, and it's called The Culture Engine. First thing I do is I sit with the leadership team in a very relaxed manner, and I just ask them a very simple question. As individuals, what are your purpose? In other words, what is your mission statement? Why do you wake up in the morning? Once I get the answer, I then move on to the second question, which is, what are your values? So what makes you you, basically? And what behaviors do you do to live the values? I'm taking a intangible statement and associating it with a tangible, measurable behavior. Once I get this, and once I help them flex that muscle, because it is a muscle flexing exercise, I then take it a step further. And I say, okay, we've done yours. Let's talk about the organization now that you're leaving. What do you think of the current values? And what do you think are the behaviors that would be associated with these values? And by the way, Matt, sometimes I actually found that some of my leadership teams had different values than the organization that they're leading. And I had to take the bold move and say to them, gently of course, that that's not going to work, because it will show that they're not authentic, and it will show in the way they communicate that they're not sincere because they don't really believe it. So what I do is I try to link their values with the company's values and see if there's a middle ground, so that at least when they are communicating, they're convincing. Sincerity for me is very important. Then after I do that, I then sense check these values and the purpose with the line managers, who to me, they are the most important audience, because they are the conduit to the rest of the organization. The problem that they're facing is that, and this is sometimes our mistake as internal comms, is that we just bombard them with information without explaining to them where this information came from, and expect them to live and breathe everything we tell them. So I don't do that. I sense check it with my line managers. I then identify who my blockers, who are my enablers, and who are my champions. And then based on that, I write my strategy, the plan, and then execute it. And this would be my advice. Start small with personal purpose and values, and then go big. And that would give you a light to follow and a direction for you to get to where you want to get. And utilize, of course, the line managers. The way I become happier and the way I really feel healthy is when I mentor. So I'm currently mentoring young professionals who are either in communications or about to enter the communications world, albeit all type of comms. And because my personal purpose is, and it took me 15 years, by the way, to figure out what my purpose was. So it's not an easy thing. My purpose in life is to make people feel valued and heard. Hence my work in internal comms. But when I do that with my mentees, and when I help them achieve what they're trying to achieve, and I see the smile and the happiness in them, that euphoria translates into me, and I feel the same. And this is where I'm extremely happy and I feel extremely healthy. And that would be my tip. If you haven't tried mentoring and you think that you don't know anything about it, look it up and give it a shot. Because there are some people out there who do need your help.